playing Jund.
Oh, how about that? Mark Evans is playing Jund.
They're both playing. Well, your guys looks like a little bit spicier than mine, although not too far afield. Although Anthony Zamberlin does have main deck Deadbridge Chant in his list. He's not sideboarding any additional copies, but he does have the one.
Yeah, and actually Mark Evans has 2 Deadbridge Chant in his sideboard.
So in this post-sideboard game, Mark has Deadbridge Advantage.
Deadbridge Vantage.
Deadbridge Vantage, I like that.
Yeah, I was actually telling Todd earlier, it's up to $8 on Star City, 20 for a foil one. So I think it's a sleeper. I do.
It was. I actually called it early in Somerset. I saw that Reed was sideboarding it in his Jund list. I realized, it's obviously replacement for Staff of Nin that doesn't die to Putrefy, which you kind of need in those Jund mirror matches now because Putrefy changes at the game. And yeah, it immediately doubled in price that weekend.
Yeah. Mark Evans, some interesting sideboard choices. He has a couple of Vraska the Unseen, which we might see in this matchup. He's going to have another copy of Rakdos Return. He's going to have more Lilianas if he wants them. In addition to his main deck, Garruk Primal Hunter. So he's trying to go big with his 5-drop Planeswalkers with his Deadbridge Chant.
Vraska is an excellent answer to opposing Deadbridge Chants as well.
New meta.
New meta. Yeah, we have Anthony Zamberlin has 2 Acidic Slimes. I imagine he'll be bringing those in. He's also got access to Duresses and Rakdos' Return.
Right, but now we're in the game. Looks like Mark Evans was on the play, has a couple black-red lands. Anthony has a Rootbound Crag.
No Farseek for Mark.
And that would not come into play untapped. That would not
come
into
a Dragon Skull Summon.
Let's stop. Before he reveals his hand.
Stop the match, no. Yep, that's
a free peek.
We're going to be undoing that. Sorry, guys. Easy mistake to make when your duels all look alike, but that is a Dragon Skull Summit and not a Blood Crypt or other land that can come into play untapped.
And that's really awkward, especially if Anthony doesn't have an untapped black land. If
he has a Blood Crypt, we can just really quickly and easily correct this. So it'll be like a warning, but I have a feeling that's probably not the case.
Right. If he's leading on Rootbound Crag, that means
he doesn't have a shock land in his hand. Yeah.
So we'll see. See what the judge rules on this one. This one might take a minute. I have no idea what the
sorry guys,
would be here.
That's a little awkward.
Yeah, we're an entire room away from the feature match area. So
Mark obviously picking up his hand, feeling a little awkward here. It's like, ugh. Can't cast the Duress. It goes back in the grip.
John tweets in the Battle of the Band Shirts, Rammstein versus Lady Gaga. I didn't notice that until you pointed that out. Hopefully we can get a shot of these players' faces.
I gotta take Gaga. It's not even close for me. So.
And
it appears that this is just going to be the turn because he did play the Dragon Skull Summit. That was a legal game action. So actually, that makes it very interesting. We might want to bring the judge in to actually see what you do in this situation because obviously, like he played Dragon Skull Summit. That's just the land he played this turn. So our proposed easy fix of playing a Blood Crypt or whatever would actually technically be, I think, illegal.
Right.
Under the rules.
Even though it seems like
perhaps
that should be the best thing.
A friendlier game.
Right.
But this is a tournament, in fact.
Tournament.
Looks like Mark does have a Farseek. He just didn't have a green source, but he does have one now.
Right, so untapped Tomb for Mark. Now, if you're Anthony, what do? Do you show Mark your hand to compensate? Like, what?
I mean,
how can you fix it?
I can honestly say I've never done a mistake quite like that one. So I don't know what I would do. I would certainly apologize. Obviously it's an affront. I don't know that I would want to take Herculean efforts to level the playing field. I'm
especially since you're probably just going to cast the Duress next turn.
Right?
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I didn't gain like that huge an advantage. It doesn't actually change like any of my plays, with the exception of if I saw nothing.
Right.
And I might not cast it now, but
if you announced Duress and had a tragic slip instead, then that's a little hazier. But
I'm reminded of an awkward situation. I think it was V. Mauschwitz who once jokingly announced a Thoughtseize.
Yeah.
And his opponent immediately revealed the hand.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. I'm not sure who it was. I feel like it was Raph Levy, but I can't remember. I believe it was a French player. An old story, not particularly relevant, beyond accidental peaks.
That's okay. You get to name drop a couple people. That's cool.
Looks like it was, in fact, a rewind. It was an illegally cast spell. He didn't have the mana to play it, so we just undid it. And now Anthony will have the option to cast it again. He will take it. And as Mark played the card that he drew, there's no real new information here.
Nope, so it doesn't end up affecting anything. I don't think Anthony had another play regardless, except maybe to hold Searing Spear, which seems worse.
Yes. He's got some choices here. I imagine he'll probably want to take the Rakdos' return.
Yeah.
The Vraska is also very threatening. It can destroy his lands.
But destroying one land at a time, way less powerful than destroying your hand.
Yeah. The Jund Mirror can often be a flurry of Rakdos' returns.
Yep.
Oh, my bad. Vraska is a non-land. I've been corrected. I thought it was non-creature. Good call. In that case, the Vraska is significantly non-threatening.
Right, the +1 is the No Mercy effect on herself. Yeah, then the -3 is destroy a non.
We can go ahead and throw Vraska up on the screen, elucidate everyone's concerns. Huntmaster of the Fells, much better play.
So he'll gain 2, go back up to 20, bring it 20-20, Mark Anthony.
I got it. I just didn't want to say anything.
Oh no, I didn't mean to do it. That's all. All right, so Anthony now is going to be up to 4 lands. Well, Mark has 5. The advantage of the play, the advantage of the Farseek. Anthony's a turn behind with his Farseek.
Mark was a turn behind with his as well, so perhaps this will wind up evening up.
Yep. At least he can cast a spell that'll prevent the Huntmaster from flipping. But
yeah, that's a big deal.
Mark
he did have a spear, right?
He did
as well.
Mark having a red card or Wolf Run though is interesting because he can just spend all his mana pumping his Wolf or pumping his Huntmaster and flip it, making a 4/4.
If he does make that play, he'll want to not spend his mana on the Huntmaster,
right?
In order to avoid getting double blown out by a Searing Spear. If I'm Anthony, I'm probably just spearing this Huntmaster, regardless of what Mark does, but I'm hoping he decides to try and not play a spell this turn. Without a creature on the board, flipping is not as advantageous as it might normally be. Returning to the list, we can actually look. Anthony has Arbor Elves, whereas Mark does not, which has been an interesting point of divergence in Jund lists. Mark is also main decking Sire of Insanity. That's like the difference between their creatures, Sire of Insanity versus Arbor Elf. Kind of peculiar. I don't think Anthony has no Sire of Insanities in his 75.
Wow, that's hard to believe, as it's one of the most important cards for Jund.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see him not adopting it. Could be just, didn't pick him up. It's still early in the set and all, but...
it is a rare, right? It's not a mythic?
It's a rare, yep.
Wow.
Not so hard to find.
No.
Maybe he just doesn't like him.
Maybe not.
He's a crazy guy.
Wow. So, Vraska comes down from Mark, and that looks like that'll +1. Nothing really to target with its -3. Pre-combat Vraska, pretty interesting. And Anthony has no Searing Spear. Must have been a different red card.
Or he decides just not to burn it, but I definitely would.
Oh, Rakdos return in hand for Anthony. If he has another land, I expect him to slam it,
He has a
get rid of
Kessing
Mark's
Wolf Run.
Run.
He can get rid of Mark's Grip, and he can also tick Vraska down to 2 with the Searing Spear that he still has, able to finish her off, should he want to go that route. It'll also keep Huntmaster from flipping for another turn if he waits. Yeah. No. He'll have to let the Huntmaster flip if he does that. But I still think it's correct, right? Overload Mizium Mortars.
Okay, so that was the red card we saw in his hand.
Ah, that is not a Searing Spear. It does have a similar color palette, however.
That makes me even more likely to Rakdos return the fact that that's a Mortars and not a Spear, because next turn you get to kill the Huntmaster.
Yeah, you can just Rakdos return for 4, clear out the grip, untap Mizium Mortars to kill the team.
Yeah.
You have to take 4 more damage, but that's all. I think we're perhaps falling a little behind on our life totals as well. I believe it should be 16 to 22, or no, 20 because of the
the untapped shock.
Yep. And now another one will bring him down to 18.
And we might be seeing a Liliana of the Veil right here. Oh, or is this a Mortars?
Dead Bridge Chant.
There he is.
All right, so if we could get Dead Bridge Chant up on the screen, that's a new one we're going to have to familiarize our viewers with. It mills 10 cards, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you pick one card at random from your entire graveyard, not just the 10, of course. And if it's a creature, it goes directly into play. Anything else, it goes into your hand.
Right, so it's such a great value card. Every turn you get to draw an extra card, or even better, save a ton of mana on a creature.
Yep.
Deathbridge Chant works particularly well with Deathbridge Shaman, or with, rather, Deathrite Shaman.
I know that I asked Owen T about his experience with Deathbridge Chant. He played it in his second place finish at Somerset last weekend. And he said he only cast it once, and when he did, he had an Olivia out, and it put Olivia into play during the very next turn, and as a result made the game take much, much longer than it should have. However, he did still win, he said, thanks to the advantage gained by Deathbridge Chant.
Some people are so unlucky, right?
It worked out. We see here this Rakdos' return really not as effective as one might hope with a Deathbridge Chant in play.
Yeah, I really expected Anthony to Rakdos return last turn, knock the Vraska down to 2, clear out all the Planeswalkers, all the Deathbridge Chants, all the perpetual card advantage from Mark's hand. But
yeah, it would have been a nice play. It would have for sure locked Mark out of being able to do any of this, whether he top decked a chant or not. And instead, Mark's just actually still ahead, which I don't think I've ever been able to say that about somebody who got Rakdos returned in a Jund Mirror in my entire life. But an Abrupt Decay, there you go.
Okay, not bad. Better than a land for Mark.
You know what I'm real curious about?
What's that?
How does Deathbridge Chant play in Legacy when you have to keep graveyard order? Let's get a judging.
I think you need a D30.
You have to D. Whew. Rolling dice for that one seems obnoxious. We have to come up with some mathematic sequences at that point.
If you've never played Grip of Chaos in a multiplayer game, you don't know true frustration.
I guess I don't know true frustration.
No.
Thankfully so.
You go, all right, I'll roll a D20 to decide which player which player at random. And then a D20 to decide which of their permanents I'm destroying. So Anthony's turn. Mark just said go, or rather ticked up his Vraska, said go. No creature to add to the board, no land to add to the board.
I think if we rewind this game, I think Anthony, maybe that turn we debated that he should have speared, obviously had Mizium Mortars instead. If he just used that 2 mana, 2 Mizium Mortars, the Huntmaster, let the Wolf continue to chug along. He'd be maybe at 12 life by now or whatever, but as we see, I think he'd be significantly far ahead. He'd just be facing that Vraska, there wouldn't be a Deathbridge Chant in play.
Right.
Life would be simpler. Duress, he knows he's got to hit an Abrupt Decay at a minimum. He also gains access to a Mizium Mortars. Duress singularly ineffective against Deathbridge Chant, though, I would say. Either of these spells, they don't really do anything, and the Deathbridge Chant will inevitably return him some real cards.
Right. Surprised he took the Abrupt Decay when Mizium Mortars kills Thragtusk and Abrupt doesn't. But I guess he was... I'm not sure.
I can't speak to that motivation. Perhaps he's thinking much further ahead about the Beast token getting Kessig Wolfrund, and that's his endgame plan.
That's pretty reasonable. So Mark returns a Woodland Cemetery during his upkeep.
Draws a card for turn. We know he's got land Mizium Mortars available.
Yeah, and if I'm Mark Evans, I'm going to start speeding up the pace of my play, because he's really far ahead this game. He's very favored.
But we are getting low.
And he's down a game.
Yeah.
So here we go, 2 mana. Dreadbore with Thragtusk. 3/3 for Anthony, though. And now Mark should probably Mizium Mortars it.
Yeah, otherwise it will trade with the Vraska.
Right. Now Vraska can tick up, keep threatening her ultimate. It's only -7, so in 3 turns, Mark could have 3 truly death-touching 1/1s. Mini phages.
Mini phages. By far one of the coolest RTR Limited kills I saw was a Traitorous Instinct followed by a Teleportal on an Assassin token.
That's dirty.
And the sick thing was, one of my friends was the one who had their token stolen, and another one was the one who did it. So my Facebook feed was both photos by different people. One of them, what the heck? And the other one, this was awesome.
That's great. My best Vraska kill was, I make 3 tokens, say go, end of turn Cyclonic Rift you.
That'll do it.
Attack with a couple tokens. And by best, I mean the only one. So
Anthony plays Huntmaster of the Fells. Mark still has that Mizium Mortars ready to just deal with those. He returned a Liliana of the Veil with his Deathbridge Chant, which I imagine...
I think he used the mortars last turn on the beast.
Oh, I'm sorry, he did play the mortars. What's his other? I must have missing his other card then. Well, in that case, Anthony will get to keep one of these creatures. Yep. I guess it's the Huntmaster.
Yep, he could Vraska.
Right.
He could -2 Vraska to kill the Huntmaster.
-3.
-3. Yep, -3 Vraska, kill the Huntmaster. So right now, Deadbridge Chant, Planeswalker versus nothing. And Mark will ponderously build up his mana base, take his sweet time, searching that deck. And, you know, like I said, if I'm him, I am so worried of a draw right here. But he's not.
Anthony checks the top card. They're both hellbent at this point, but Mark has 2 Planeswalkers and a Deadbridge Chant.
Well, that's not
Anthony
so bad.
has zip, 0, nada.
So Anthony's Zamberlin tanking on his land drop for the turn. Not sure if he wants to play it or not. You know what would be nice right here would be something like a bonfire. That could get him, well...
Bonfire would be a card.
I was going to say get him back in the
more.
game, but that's not true.
Yeah.
Really, he needs a way to deal with the Deadbridge Chant more than anything.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that you play Deadbridge Chant in Jund Mirrors is that there aren't many ways to deal with it.
Yeah.
Vraska, as we see on board, is actually one of the few. So Mark's already got his solution. Acidic Slime is Anthony's, but he'll need to draw one. Liliana ticks up. Anthony pitches his Putrefy.
So +1 on Vraska, and he'll say go. They're just going to sit here for a while. Mark Evans is going to return lands until he gets creatures, I suppose, and then this game will be over pretty quickly. Rakdos return. All right, that's one Planeswalker down.
Boom, dynamite.
And, all right, so that deals with Vraska. One more of those, he can deal with the Liliana.
But Deadbridge Chant is the true Planeswalker in this game.
All the while, Deadbridge Chant.
They might even return a Vraska.
Yeah, exactly.
Anthony's just like, yeah, this is all I can do. Play the top card on my deck every turn.
And it looks like Mizzium Mortars. Yep. A blank. Effectively a blank. Where are the Shroud creatures for this matchup? That's my question.
Still fearing Liliana, perhaps?
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. What could this be?
4? Oh. Huntmaster? That would be a good one. Olivia.
Oh, that's an even better
Olivia's an even better one.
So Mizzium Mortars gets discarded. He's content to just tick that Liliana up.
That's interesting. I don't think I would have done that. I think I would have rather held the Mizzium Mortars than gain an edict that leaves Liliana around. Like next turn, if if my opponent plays, I guess I can't really think of anything too threatening, but I don't know, it just feels better. I feel like I would have just made that play. I don't really know why.
I like ulting Liliana. It's too much fun.
I actually expressly dislike Liliana Ultimate. The first time I played with her, it was in testing. I ultimated her 2 times, and we were just still playing Magic. And I was like, this is the most frustrating thing I've ever done with a Planeswalker in my entire life. I mean, like, I was ahead, but like, and I still won the game, but like, he just shouldn't have been playing Magic anymore, and he just kept doing it.
Well, it's a 3-mana Planeswalker. The ultimate can't be too backbreaking. Right?
I mean, I should feel like I did something, you know? Like, yeah. I want to feel rewarded for all my time and effort.
All your careful turns moving the die.
Yeah.
All right, so Mark Evans continues to just take his sweet time here with this win. I don't think he realizes there are only 11 minutes left in the round.
One of our Twitter users questioning the use of the non-use of Putrefy and Deadbridge Chant. That would be because you can't do that.
Your thing
it is not Mortify. Yep.
Yeah. Not sure what there is to think about here versus an empty-handed opponent. I think, yeah, here comes the Wolf Run.
We need to close this game out in a hurry. At this point, it's going to be tough.
Okay.
Drag Tusk
over Wolf Run, that's fine. Gains 5 goes up to 23.
And the Olivia gonna attack.
Yep, does not have Vigilance, has to tap it. And Wolf Run for 1.
He's actually missing a point here. He can just double ping his Drag Tusk and get in for an additional point.
And Liliana should tick up, but honestly, it doesn't matter if Mark Evans ticks this up or not. He's going to win. It's just a question of when.
He's going to go ahead and tick it up. Goes to 4, and then it'll be Anthony's turn.
Really, Bonfire of the Damned is the only thing that can start getting Anthony out of this.
Yeah.
Right now.
Note that the double tick on, or the double ping from Olivia would put it outside of an overloaded Mizium mortars, which opens up Anthony's out slightly to avoid immediate death on the next turn. But instead, he's going to die. And if I'm Anthony, I'm probably not going to concede too early there. I would wait for my opponent to actually kill me. For one, Mark has displayed some conservatism, I would say, in his play, and for two, a draw is not so bad. Obviously, Anthony doesn't know his opponent's list, but post-board, this matchup is much better for Mark than it is for Anthony.
Right.
Between Sire of Insanity, multiple Deadbridge chants,
let's see, how many Rakdos?
Vraskas.
2 Rakdos returns.
I think they both
from,
have 2 Rakdos return post-board.
3 for Anthony.
3 for Anthony. Okay, so maybe he feels that because he has 3 Rakdos returns, he doesn't mind playing these sideboarded games as much.
Right.
I don't know. I would be a little scared after seeing the power of just Vraska shutting down a lot of his top decks.
Yeah, it was like he couldn't even really draw a creature. Like, I mean, you saw how he drew the Huntmaster, and then the Liliana plus the Vraska just took it out. That's one of the best cards to top deck when you're facing down a Planeswalker, and just got eliminated.
We've got an updated time total. As we can see, it's even shorter than we already assumed. So these players are almost certainly locked into a draw without a significant change in pace.
Right. And you can see the pile shuffling there. When there are 4 minutes left, I'm not going to pile shuffle. It's nice to make sure you still have 60 cards, but it doesn't actually randomize your deck any more than a riffle does.
Right.
I would just be mashing my deck together, trying to avoid this draw.
Yeah. One of the strengths of players at high levels is definitely the ability to adjust their pace of play fluidly, and also to maintain it. A lot of players, they slow down when they have things to think of. You can really easily give up a lot of information when your pace of play changes involuntarily. But by the same token, when you can actually adjust your pace of play on purpose, you can, create misinformation.
Yeah, true.
So it's a fine skill to hone. Good to keep in mind for when you're thinking of ways to develop your own play.
Yeah, and when you say adjust your play, you don't mean stalling, right?
No, I don't mean stalling. I do mean generally affecting the speed at which you make your actual actions. Their stalling is an intentional use of the clock to prolong the game. When you're intentionally using the time to play the game, that's a completely different thing.
Right.
Pausing for a few seconds when you draw a land, for example, obviously something like everybody has done that. For instance, at the team seal just this weekend, I could wander the tables and at any moment find a team that had one player pointing to a land as though it were the best combat trick that anyone has ever seen in a game of Magic the Gathering, and the other player sagely nodding, yeah, that seems really good, yeah.
Of course. You don't want to tell them that you drew a land.
Right.
And when you drew and when you do draw a trick, you don't want to give that away either. So all part of the game, the bluffs. So here there's 7. Anthony will be on the play. And both players just hoping for some kind of Farseek into Olivia draw, something that can just put away the game in a matter of turns.
I see Anthony has looked. I saw a couple lands of Huntmaster and I think a Putrefy. I didn't really get a glance at much else. Maybe a Mortars. On Mark's side, a Mulligan.
So Mulligan for Mark Evans. Anthony staying on 7, and the Mulligan ensures the draw even more than it already was.
Also something that you can have to watch out for sometimes. I've definitely, people can mulligan in these situations, and it sucks away time on the clock. You have to do it very quickly if you want to maintain your ability to win the match.
Right. See this slow pile shuffle here. It's just not necessary. You shouldn't be doing that with 2 minutes left on the clock.
It's very easy for players to do things like this without realizing the ramifications as well. Especially I've noticed when someone's back is to the clock. That's like the easiest time when you just don't realize what's going on. In the feature match arena, it can be even trickier because your timing can sometimes be different from the clock. But one of the things I do when I play at tournaments is I try to get to my seat first and ensure that I have the seat facing the clock because it's an advantage to be able to monitor the time. When your opponent's playing a little slow, when you're playing a little slow, you can adjust things. You gotta be able to see.
So here we go, Mark Evans shuffling up for his 6 cards. These players are going to try and win in a minute. A minute to win it. And Anthony tanking on the cut, I guess. There we go. Shuffle after all. And, you know, it's really easy for us to criticize these players about their pace of play. We're not in the feature match area. We're not 5:01, 5:1. The clock's about 100, 200 feet away from them. So.
And their pace of play is fine. I would classify them as, you know, slower or deliberate, I think is the adjective I prefer to use players. But when you're in a pressing time situation, you know, it's the awareness of your time that actually is really important. And I feel like they're not cognizant of how much time is left in the match, which is putting them both at a disadvantage. Yep. In fact, a very equal disadvantage, as it will wind up giving one of them a draw.
Oh, and Mark's mulliganing again. Oh.
It looks like this is game. They just decided to call it. They're like, neither of us can win in a minute. So they've just decided to call it a draw.
Yeah,
or
Anthony,
perhaps a concession. I'm not sure. Draws? Okay. Yeah, I couldn't see either of them conceding here.